And there has been talk of me fighting Francis Ngannou for my next fight, which is f***ing scary as f***, because he is one of the most frightening men on the planet. Yeah. That's why it excites me, you know, because it's the training for it would just be awesome.
What is it about Strongman that like turns you guys into such mutants?
This professor was like, I've never seen a heart so efficient. That transfers over to so many different things like fighting. You know, I'm able to move this huge amount of mass and do 7-minute miles and swim a mile in 22 minutes. It's unheard of. Pulling that 500 kilo, you got to remember, I broke the record by 37 kilos.
It's certainly more likely than not that in September, the whole deadlift debate will be over and I'll hold the all-time deadlift world record.
Do you think Mitchell Hooper can break it?
He's got all the tools and he's definitely on track to. Everything's got to be perfect. Not only physically, I think mentally as well. I call it the inner peace. Like if your inner peace is you aren't performing to 100%.
You were mentioning that the sport is different. Now, do you think it's different for the better, or do you think it's taking away from the strength of strongman?
I think it's better for the athletes, but I think it's worse for the sport.
Do you think you'd actually do really well in today's strongman?
I mean, look, if I were to walk into World's Strongest Man with a few months training, I would make top 30. Top 3 would be 2 years away.
What happened recently when you were chasing some people down the street?
Jeez. They were like the third people that day to come and knock on my house. And I was just like, this. I need to put a stance on this, you know. I need to let people know that it's not okay to come to this house. And he looked me dead in the eyes. As he just put his car into gear and was just driving off, he looked me dead in the eyes. He's like, I'll knock you out. And I just saw red. I was like, this.
Did you feel like you were going to die after you ran that mile?
100%. Yeah. Lips turned blue and everything.
And how long ago was that?
Quite recently. Yeah. I stopped running in my camp, so it must have been about 3 months ago, something like that. But when I'm in camp, I don't run because it's just too risky for like pulling your calf and shit.
Yeah. What kind of cardio do you do?
Swimming mainly, and then fight training.
Yeah, so you already have a skill set with swimming from when you're young.
Yeah.
So might as well use what you're already good at.
That's it. And then just lift weights really, really fast. I genuinely believe that's a great cardio session. Just like a really intense weight session is super good for your lungs.
And are you doing other things back and forth in between, like particular exercises, or are you just trying to like lift weight quick with short rest?
No, so I do like, it's quite popular in the fight world. You do 24 reps, 22 reps, 20 reps, and you try and have like a minute rest in between. And by the time you've done the 20 reps, the second you're finished, you're onto the next machine, 24, 22, 20.
Oh, shit.
And just just do 5, 6 exercises. And by the end, you are fucked. Like your lungs, your heart rate's like 150, 160. Fucks you, but it's good, like great workout.
And is like MMA type stuff, is that something that you maybe have always wanted to do?
I think deep down, yes. I think fighting's been a big part of my life in my youth. I can honestly say I think that in my childhood, I don't think there was many days that went by where I wasn't punched in the face or I punched someone in the face. It was like a very daily occurrence. So growing up and settling down and finding a job and getting to strongman sort of took me away from that. And it's nice to get back into it.
You going to try to get into it like more? You said you have a fight coming up?
Yeah, so I mean, I had this fight with Marius, and obviously that fight made sense. Like me and Thor fight made sense. You know, it was like World's Strongest Man versus World's Strongest Man. It's just one of those freak fights, you know, and just something that I really wanted. I actually pushed for this fight. I instigated it, made it happen, put the contracts in place. Like I did it all. Like I wanted it really bad. And then it's like, what next? Everyone's like, you know, are you going to go in KSW ranking? You're going to fight us, you know, one of our. And I'm like, no, like, I would just want to fight the freaks. I just want to fight the Forbes Johnsons, the Mariusz Podnoskis, just something that makes sense. It's like, would it, if I went up against, let's say that KSW champion weighs 100 kilo and I beat him, it's just like, well, yeah, well, you beat someone half your size. And if you lose, it's like, yeah, you lost to someone half your size. Right. So you lose when you fight people like that, for someone like me. So the freak stuff, you know, like the 2v1 fight I did, that was great fun. Two guys weighed about, I don't know, like 140 pounds each. And that was fun, that was.
This kind of stuff's kind of legendary. I mean, this is the kind of stuff people talk about, for years, or you just speculate, you're on like a playground and you're like, I wonder if Mike Tyson could beat up like 3 people at one time, and then you're like, well, what kind of 3 people are we talking about? Are they 3, professional fighters as well? Or is it, so I think this stuff is super interesting. Brings you back to the gladiator days.
It does. And you know what? This is the kind of shit that, watch this now. This is fucking great. This is awesome.
They're a lot easier to pick up than a 400-pound stone, it looks like.
Yeah. That was fucking perfect.
Oh my God.
And then just caught in the corner of my eye.
Shit, that was right on the button.
Yeah, that was nasty. So yeah, stuff like that. People want to know the answers to these questions. Can Eddie Hall beat 2 people at once? Can he beat 3 people at once? Can he beat 4 people at once? And I guess the 2v1 was just like the start of the journey. And it could progress to 3v1, 4v1. I don't know, but how many people? It'd be like one gorilla versus 100 men,
right?
We want to know the answer to that, and I guess this is kind of it. How far can we go?
What is your answer to that?
I don't know.
You want to do a 3v1 fight?
I think 3v1, like those kind of conditions would be really fun. Like really fun. I fucking love training for it because you have to be so fit to go into these situations. And that, like, in training, I had two coaches, and when they say it's literally double the work, it is. Like, my heart rate was twice as high, like my breathing was twice as fast, and you're banging one, you're turning, you're banging the other. It is insane. Like, it's so much harder. So imagine 3 of them. Fuck, that'd be. But that's why it excites me, because it's the training for it would just be awesome. And then the match itself, great fun.
Yeah, it seems like when this kind of stuff happens with some like YouTube people and stuff like that, then the professionals come out of the woodwork and they start lining up and they're like, hey, but it doesn't make sense a lot of times because unfortunately, sometimes those professionals, they just don't have that big of a name that's really going to stick and make it like an exciting thing, right?
Yeah, no, exactly that. And like after this Marius fight, I've had so many offers and like all these names, I'm like, yeah, but they're not, like they might be highly ranked fighters, but they're not the Francis Ngannous. These are the Tyson Furies, the Eddie Halls, the Marius Podnoskis. These are the people I want to fight. These big, massive names. And there has been talk of me fighting Francis Ngannou for my next fight, which is fucking scary as fuck because he is one of the most frightening men on the planet,
yeah,
in my opinion.
He sure is.
And but he did. So this is where it gets fun, right? So Francis Ngannou had the world's hardest punch on the UFC Institute. They call it the Power Cube. And all these fighters at the UFC Institute hit this Power Cube all day long, like every day. They're trying to beat each other on this high score. Right. So he had the record at like 135 or something. And then Alex Pereira, yeah, he hit 190, I think. And that's been the record for quite a while. And obviously all these guys are just smashing this cube all day long, trying to beat it. And then I went in with Brian Shaw and with just the intention to beat this record. And within 10 minutes, I hit 215,000, I think. So I got the hardest recorded punch in the world right now. And so is Francis. Well, that's the sort of claim we both have. So I think that the world's hardest puncher versus the world's hardest puncher is a great matchup. And I want to state very early on that I think my chances are quite low. Like, if you put me and Francis in a cage, 95 times out of 100, Francis wins. But it's that 5%. He's still a human being at the end of the day. If I catch him on the end of the chin, square, like, you're fucked. I don't give a fuck who you are. You're going down. You
have a better chance of beating him in that probably than he may have beating you in Strongman.
Oh, yeah. Right? Yeah,
Strongman is like probably just, is there an event that he would be able to do? Is it possible? He's very strong and he looks, he looks
also
amazing.
Very light compared to Strongman.
That's true. Yeah.
Could he beat me in any Strongman event?
I guess maybe, huh?
Maybe like a carry or something. I don't know. But in terms of like moving weight from A to B, zero chance. Absolute zero.
And that's probably what he thinks of you in terms of, fighting you, since he's been fighting for the last
and he's
15 years.
And he's probably right. But it's having the balls to get in there and have a go, is it? And
Question: how about a Tyson Fury then? What do you think about that? Tyson Fury, pure boxing, not MMA.
Oh, I wouldn't. No, that'd be
fucked up.
That'd be insane. Yeah, because the skill level in boxing and that reach and everything, it sort of takes away my attributes. Like my attributes are pressuring, mauling, using my strength, my body weight. I mean, you see what I did to Marius. I just threw him across the ring. Yeah. So you take away my attributes and just put it boxing, like me against Tyson Fury, less than 1%.
Gotcha.
You're probably excited for the smashing machine because that seems to be your technique in the ring.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pick the guy up, throw him on his head, and
Smash
beat the
him.
shit out of him.
Yeah, hammer fist him in the face till he stops looking at you.
Go ahead.
At this point, though, with strength feats, are you kind of like, when it comes to strength, is there anything that you want to do? Because it seems like right now you're in fighting mode, but do you feel like you'd want to go back to do any strongman stuff? You'd ever want to go back and try to do even more of a deadlift? What are your thoughts?
In terms of the strength world, like I retired 8 years ago now. Mm-hmm. Is that right? Yeah, 8 years ago. And I've had no itch to get back into it at all. Like, and as far as I'm concerned, I set my goals, pull the 500 kilo, win the world's strongest man. And those were my two goals. I honestly couldn't give a shit about anything else. So when I won the world's strongest man, I literally retired the next day and I never competed again. And I've been the commentating and everything. And I must state that retiring from strongman was probably the harder of the option. Like of the two options, stay in strongman or retire. Mm-hmm. And retiring, staying in strongman's easy. It sounds daft to say that, but to stay and do what you know you're good at and lift weights and continue to progress in that sport and win more titles, that would have been the easy option. The harder option was to break free from what I'm good at and try and get into other avenues of revenue, use my World's Strongest Man title, use my 500 kilo to get TV shows, endorsements, YouTube. I honestly think that was the harder option, but it was the more sensible option as well. It's longevity, financially, there's just health-wise, there's so many benefits to what I've done as opposed to staying into strongman.
It seems like you're having a lot of fun doing it too, whereas obviously there's aspects of strongman that are fun, but when you get to your level and you're thinking of 500 kilos and 501 kilos and so forth, it gets to be monotonous and you got to be super precise. The rest of your life has to be on pause, whereas now, you can make some fun YouTube videos, you can kind of do some skits with some friends, and you can have more of a good time. Like things are way more relaxed, I would imagine. Yeah,
100%. Way more relaxed. I have more fun. I spend much more time with my family. That pressure's off. And I think that pressure is great in some circumstances. And obviously I piled the pressure back on with fighting, but with the top level strongman, that pressure is fucking insane. Like you've got to be 24/7, 365 days of the year committed to strongman. Eat, sleep, shit it. And if you're not eat, sleep, shitting it, you're not winning. You're coming second.
I do want to mention, Mitchell did say, because he was just on the podcast, and he mentioned that your 500 kilogram deadlift was kind of like a Roger Bannister moment for the deadlift, because he said that after that, so many other people started being able to deadlift 1,000. You just see people start to deadlift more weight because they saw somebody deadlift 500 kilos. So that's, even if people start deadlifting more than 500 kilos, I think there's something about getting that done that helped that all happen.
100%. I think, and it is exactly the Roger Bannister scenario where everyone said running a mile in 4 minutes was impossible. And Roger Bannister was like, I think it is. And everyone's like, you're a dick. You're fucking so deluded. It's going to be everyone's 10 seconds off. You're fucking off your head. And he went and ran it. And then so that too, however long mankind has been running, took him to that, was it 1950s or 60s? I can't remember.
There's high school kids now doing that.
Yes, exactly. 1954, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it took until 1954 to run a mile in 4 minutes. And then within 2 years, 20 people had done it. And now it's like a common, as you say, high school kids are doing it. It's that belief of it's possible makes people train that little bit harder because it just ups the ante. And with the 500 kilo, because you've got to bear in mind, when I pulled that 500 kilo, Like the world record at the time was 463 kilos.
Damn.
Right? So, and I announced it to the world, and I had exactly the same response. It was like every single person. When I announced it to a crowd at Leeds a year before, 2015, the crowd fucking laughed at me. The promoters laughed at me. Like, it was just like a laughing stock. And then online, it's like, Eddie Hall's fucking deluded. We're never going to see this in our lifetime. It is impossible. That was 99.9% of the sort of comments and negativity towards the lift. Everyone just laughed at me. Strongman, everybody. And pulling that 500 kilo against all that negativity, you got to remember, I broke the record by 37 kilos in one day. Like, it went up a kilo a year for like the last 20 years. And I broke it by 37 fucking kilos in one day. So it shut a lot of people up. And then we fast forward to like 2017, where I'm prepping for World's Strongest Man. I win the World's Strongest Man. And I've got the same promoters that are like, "What? Why don't you come back and pull 501? And I'm like, why? They're like, do you think anyone would give a shit now? Right. Like, I've made my money from that 500 kilo. Made the stamp, made the craze. Like, if I came back and pulled 501, it'd be like, oh, well done, mate. It's fucking great. 502, fantastic. Yeah, 503, all right, we're getting fucking bored now. So, it was the risk reward. Like the 500 kilo, I made so much fucking money from that one day. It was obscene. And that was never going to happen again because the craze was gone. Like, if I pulled 501, I would have made less than a tenth of the money I pulled for pulling 500. So the risk reward was just gone. So, I guess that's why I never went for more, because there was no reward for pulling more. But I remember at World's Strongest Man 2017, this is in my opinion, why I believe I could have pulled a lot more. It was the second to last event in the final. It was a max deadlift. And it was 572.5 kilos. And this is after like 10 events already. Been competing 2 weeks out in Africa, blistering heat, shit sleep, shit food. And I stood up with it like you'd stand up out of a chair. Like, so fucking fast. And I won the World's Strongest Man, and they interviewed me after, like, Ed, that deadlift. Like, I honestly think that was more impressive than the 500 kilo because it was on a stiff, thick axle bar as well. It had no budge in it. And they said on the spot, like, what do you think you could have pulled? And I'm like, if you'd have put 520 on that bar, I'd have fucking pulled it. Like, I just felt so fucking strong, unreal strong. So there's no doubt in my mind I could have pulled more, but what the fuck would I have got out of that if I did? Like, virtually fucking nothing.
All right, Mark, you're getting leaner and leaner, but you always enjoy the food you're eating. So how you doing it?
I got a secret, man. It's called Good Life Protein.
Okay, tell me about that.
I've been doing some Good Life Protein. You know, we've been talking on the show for a really long time of certified Piedmontese beef, and you can get that under the umbrella of Good Life Proteins, which also has chicken breast, chicken thighs, sausage, shrimp, scallops, all kinds of different fish, salmon, tilapia. The website has nearly any kind of meat that you can think of. Lamb is another one that comes to mind. And so I've been utilizing and kind of using some different strategy, kind of depending on the way that I'm eating. So if I'm doing a keto diet, I'll eat more fat, and that's where I might get the sausage, and I might get their 80-20 grass-fed, grass-finished ground beef. I might get bacon. And there's other days where I kind of do a little bit more bodybuilder style, where the fat is, might be like 40 grams or something like that. And then I'll have some of the leaner cuts of the certified Piedmontese beef.
This is one of the reasons why, like, neither of us find it hard to stay in shape, because we're always enjoying the food we're eating. And protein, you talk about protein leverage all the time. It's satiating and helps you feel full.
I look forward to every meal. And I can surf and turf,
Yeah.
I could cook up some, chicken thighs or something like that and have some shrimp with it, or I could have some steak. I would say, the steak, it keeps going back and forth for me on my favorites. So it's hard for me to lock one down, but I really love the bavette steaks.
Yeah.
And then I also love the ribeyes as well.
You can't go wrong with the ribeyes. So guys, if you guys want to get your hands on some really good meat, you can head to goodlifeproteins.com and use code POWER for 20% off any purchases made on the website, or you can use code POWERPROJECT to get an extra 5% off if you subscribe and save to any meats that are a recurring purchase.
This is the best meat in the world.
Yeah, it is.
What are some of your thoughts on, some of the guys going after it now? I know there's I believe the bar that you used was like an elephant bar. I don't know a ton about all the different bars that they're bringing into the picture, but it does seem like the bars are making it easier. Do you care a ton about hey, let's try to keep it within some sort of reasonable range of what I did?
I think that's a problem. I do think that's a problem. I mean, so when the Rogue, the Arnolds, introduced the elephant bar, they called it the long bar deadlift. And it was actually me that sent a very long email sort of saying, look, guys, you're sort of cusping on the fence here with this lift, because it is, there's so many ways to look at it. Some people say it's harder. I believe for me, it was harder because I wasn't able to train on that bar. But then you look at people like Brian, who did have that exactly, had the same bar, the same Hummer tires, everything, the same plates and everything. And you're thinking he would say to me, I find it easier because it was just like that. It left the floor that little bit later. He was able to sort of stabilize it and pull it in. And
the bar bends a ton. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was an easier lift for Brian, but it was a harder lift for me. And I think that's because I didn't train on the bar. But that's the point. It's like you're creating a different apparatus that may well be harder, may well be easier. But it's the point that it should be done on the same bar. And I think I deadlifted on the Oki Ohio deadlift bar, I think. So if anyone comes and uses a different bar, does that then, and that's how it should be. I think it should all be done on the same apparatus. Calibrated plates, the same bar. Because even if you use a different bar, what are these bars they're using these days that people are getting crazy PBs on? Right. And that just changes the aspect of the lift. So I think it does need to have some sort of oversight on it, and like this bar, the calibrated plates, needs to be used.
How did you build that kind of strength? Because I don't know if people, I haven't really heard you talk that much about it, but I would just say flat out, I don't know if I've ever seen anybody more explosive with some of the deadlift movements that you would do. And they were unique. They weren't always just a regular speed pull. Sometimes it looked like, from what I can recall, there's some video of you maybe just pulling and not even standing up all the way.
Yeah.
So you had unusual techniques that you probably maybe developed through, yourself and a coach, or yourself and someone else, or even just intuition. But yeah, how'd you come up with some of this, and how did you build up a deadlift that beat the all-time world record by 37 kilos?
So I got stuck at 420 kilos for fucking I'm going to say 4 years. I couldn't get past 420 kilo. So I had to step back and be like, why can I not progress on the deadlift? And what I was doing was every single week I was going into the gym and trying to pull as heavy as I could. So every single week I was pulling 420, next week 420, next week 420, every single week trying 430 and failing. And then I did a lot of research, and this is when I got really heavy into my recovery. It was around the 2014, 15 mark. And it was all about recovery. So you cannot go and max deadlift every week because your body cannot recover from a maximum effort pull within 7 days. It takes 10 days. So I had to then come up with a new program where I do a week heavy and a week of speed pulls. And the speed pulls was all about building power from the floor. It wasn't about from the knees upwards. It was just from the floor to your knees. That's what a speed pull is. That's that 0.1 of a second of explosion. So that's all I'd pull. I'd pull to my knees and then let go. And I'll never forget, 5 weeks before doing the 500 kilo, there were people in my comment section why aren't you doing full reps? You're a fucking idiot. You're not going to pull this 500 kilo. And I was like, okay, yeah. Literally people telling me how to deadlift. So you see there, I'm just pulling to just above my knees. Do you know?
And a little laxity maybe to the mid and upper back that you don't normally pull with. Is that right? Or is that normal for
everything?
You?
Yeah, that's pretty normal. Okay. That's pretty normal. But do you know how much effort it takes to get from your knees to lockout? It's probably more effort than what it takes to get to your knees. That from knees to lockout is the hardest bit of the lift, in my opinion. So
that's part of that. Is it look like you totally fucking fell down afterwards?
Yeah. So I would sort of train. That was my method. I would train from the floor 1 week and then do the harder bits the next week. So I'd go do all the way up the next week. And that's how I built that strength up. Like it did it in like lower half, upper half of the deadlift. So
do any overloads, or there's no reason to when you've got that amount of weight? Did you do anything over 500 kilos?
Never. So actually I never went above 554, 1,000 pounds in training. That's the heaviest I've ever pulled in training, 554. And the reason for that is, so I sort of announced in the middle of 2015 I was going to pull the 500, and then sort of 6 months into the training, every time I went above 1,000 pounds, I just fucking failed. I just like my head would fall off, and I'd sort of get it above my knees and just like couldn't finish the lift off. So I had to go and seek help from like professors and scientists and hypnotherapists and everything. And it was a scientist or a, you know, what do they call him? A physics expert that sort of explained to me that a day-to-day person that takes the kids to school, does the shopping, goes to work, has access to probably 50% of the muscle fibers. Someone who trains 20 hours a week has access to probably 70% of the muscle fibers, because that body-mind connection is so much better. But then you hear stories of mothers that have been in car accidents that lift cars off of the kids, and where the fuck do they get that strength from? And it's that body-mind connection. They're getting access to 100% of the muscle fibers. And the only way they're doing that is this huge rush of adrenaline. That's the only way to access 100% of your muscle fibers is adrenaline. That's the only way. So that's what I had to create. I had to create a scenario with a hypnotherapist where I'm walking into the arena and this scenario is building in my head. Very horrible, fucking distraught thoughts. I don't want to talk about the thoughts, but by the time I get to the bar, like my mind's somewhere else. And that bar isn't a bar, it's something, someone else, you know, and I'm lifting that something off of my kids. And that's the place I had to go to, is like trick myself to just to fucking have that huge dump of adrenaline.
You think Mitchell Hooper can break it?
I think Hooper can break it. I think he's got all the tools, and he's definitely on track to. I think everything. I'll say this: like everything's got to be perfect, and not only physically, I think mentally as well. Like everything's got to be fucking perfect. And if you've got something that's bugging you, like I call it the inner peace. Right, so you get in bed at night and you've got something that's bugging you, and you just fucking get in bed and you're just like, fucking bastard. Just something's just on your mind. It's really fucking you over, and you can't sleep. And it might, I don't mean much. It might only take half an hour or an hour away from your sleep. But if that inner peace gets fucked, your performance gone. And that's what I'll say to all the other athletes. Is like everything's got to be perfect, probably more mentally than physically. Like if your inner peace is fucked, you aren't performing to 100%.
You know, this past weekend, having the world's strongest man here, the athletes that won aren't as big as the athletes who've been winning in the past. And, you know, we were talking in the gym, and you were mentioning that the sport is different. Now, do you think it's different for the better, or do you think it's kind of taking away from the strength of strongman?
I think a little bit of both.
Okay.
I think it's better for the athletes because they don't have to be as big and robust and, you know, immobile, because it's more of there's so much more mobility and movement in strongman now. But yeah, it's a bit of both. I think it's better for the athletes, but I think it's worse for the sport. So it's sort of like some middle ground, you know. I think strongman, in my opinion, should be who can move the most weight from A to B. That's what strongman should be. Not picking up a sack and seeing how fucking far you could throw it, or how high you could throw it, or, you know, who can pull a bus the fastest, and maybe you've got different footwear, or maybe you get that better start. You know, I think like moving a weight from A to B is how strongman should be tested. That's my opinion. You know, who's got the most powerful squat? Who's got the best deadlift? Who's got the best bench press? Who's got the best shoulder press? Who can lift that movement, that object up and move it 10 meters there, you know, the quickest with the most weight? I think that's strongman. But again, you've got to find that middle ground. It's a play of finding who's the strongest, making it entertaining, and keeping the athletes safe.
Yeah.
So you've got 3 aspects there. And that's where World's Strongest Man, I think, gets that really good balance of like, it's got to be entertaining. If you just do 5 events of moving weight from A to B, no one will fucking watch that. It's powerlifting, you know?
So nobody watches powerlifting.
Nobody watches powerlifting, sorry. But that was really backhanded, wasn't it? But that's my point. You know, if you just did powerlifting, World's Strongest Man, no one would fucking watch it. So, you've got to find that balance. And I think World's Strongest Man's got it pretty good.
The way that it used to look, you know, in the like 80s and stuff like that, when they play the old videos of the World's Strongest Man, it kind of looked like these were guys that lifted heavy, you know, and they obviously, you know, practiced some of the events, but it didn't look like it looks today. Like today, they're very clearly like specialists. And maybe it was just a perception of the way it was back then. But I remember like there would be sometimes there would be like a pro wrestler doing it or a former NFL lineman, and he was just there and like he was just lifting amongst the other guys. Yeah, like some of these videos are amazing. With these you know, legendary strongman athletes. But there's like, I guess you can't really ever bring that back unless you were to do it with like amateur type people or something like that. But it just seemed like there's something cool about them not being specialists. It reminds me of the UFC.
Yes.
Early UFC, like some motherfucker like came to the ring with a boxing glove on.
Yeah.
Because like he didn't know what he was in for. You know what I mean? He had one boxing glove on. They're like, I think this is going to be a huge disadvantage because you can't grab anybody with a boxing glove. And people were trying like, you know, different footwear. There were some people wearing like wrestling, you know, gear and shit like that in the ring. And I think, you know, back then it kind of seemed like almost like this was thrown together with the type of athletes. Obviously, there's bona fide strongman athletes in the mix too, but there's just some other athletes that are just big and strong that I guess they thought they could hang on some of these things. So it was, I think it was like really exciting to try to see who would win out of this pack of people that didn't seem like they were maybe as professional as they are today. I don't know if that makes any sense to you.
No,
you know?
it does. I mean, if you remember Louis Ferrigno,
Right.
was in the World's Strongest Man, and he was a
That's the kind of shit I'm
he was a
talking
bodybuilder.
Yeah.
You know, obviously he was strong, but he was a bodybuilder and he was competing against the strongest man in
And
the world.
Franco Columbo, I think, did it, and he's like 200 pounds.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think they were just, I think you were right. They were just throwing men in a contest and hoping for the best. But in a way that had to happen because stuff like this has to happen to then see the professionalism of the sport come, you know. This is probably the unprofessional period. No real training, like the event like this. Like
Throwing a big old tire.
yeah.
Random. Goes into the crowd and kills somebody.
Exactly. And you know, if they put that in today's strongman, it'd be like, fuck off. Like, that's not testing strength, you know?
So Mark, you have been loving wearing these Paluvas for a long time. Why is it that you like these shoes that look like this?
I'm trying to get my feet to be jacked. You know, I think it's funny how sometimes people will, when I wear these shoes, they're like, oh, those are different. And I'm like, well, maybe you should blame God because this is the human foot. This is the way that it looks. But Paluvas are awesome because it's going to allow you to train your feet and train your toes and allow for that toe spread because you got the 5-finger toe thing going on. It's like put on a glove for your feet. It feels amazing.
It's like walking around with toe spacers. You know, we've been working on our feet for a long time now. You always hear the benefit of people talking about like these tribes who have gone without shoes forever. And they have this toe space and have these amazing feet. And these shoes will allow you to just passively get that back by walking around.
You don't realize what a disadvantage you're at when your foot is all clumped together from the football cleats or soccer cleats or whatever else you were wearing when you were young. And so it's nice to be able to splay your toes. In addition to that, though, one thing I love about Paluva is the fact that it's not a regular barefoot shoe. I do love barefoot shoes as well, but it also has appropriate padding. And when you're stepping on some crazy pebbles and rocks and different things, like when I'm out on a run, some terrain is a little different than others. I don't have to be worried that I'm going to get some sort of stabbing, crazy thing happening to my foot because it has an appropriate amount of cushion underneath the foot.
And guys, Paluva has a lot of different styles on their website. I think one of the newest styles they just came out with, which is a little bit more of a rigorous do, is the Strand ATR. It's not these are the Strands, but the ATRs have a little bit more. If you want to go hiking with them, you totally can.
Those are amazing. If you go out, throw those on and go sprint on a field and your feet feel so strong, grabbing the grass and being able to actually grab the ground with your foot feels amazing.
I'm more of a chill guy with my Paluva, so I like the Zen slip-ons, but that's the thing. With Paluva, Palooza. There's a lot of different options. So if you head to palooza.com and use code POWERPROJECT, you'll be able to save 15% off your entire purchase. And they also have toe socks. Their 5-finger toe socks are no show. So check those out too. You know, the interesting thing, though, about the weight you're at right now and the physical capacity you have right now in terms of your ability to swim, your cardiovascular capacity of running, do you think you'd actually do really well in today's strongman because of that? Like, we were talking to Mitch, and he was talking about being heavier and having good capacity. And it's like, well, that's where you're at right now, but you're not doing strongman.
Yeah. So I think for me, like I was just that stupidly strong that rep work was so easy. Like if you like the guys now are doing 350 kilo for reps in the finals, right? And I think most of the guys hit 8 reps. I think Trey Mitchell hit 10.
Okay.
But my max was that high that 350 is like what 60-70% of my max. You know, I'm going to be hitting like 10, 12 reps easy without even doing any cardio. That was my mindset. And back in the days, like any rep work, just you get yourself that strong that it doesn't matter. It's like 50% of your max.
Yeah.
Today's world, I don't know. I mean, look, I'm still strong. Like overhead stuff, like my shoulders. I've trained with Iron Bibby, who's got the log press world record, and I kept up with him pound for pound, like in shoulders and dumbbells and stuff like that. Like it was quite shocking for myself. It's a tough one. Would I still be as good having lost 80 pounds? I honestly don't know. But I just know to be that brute strength, like the 500 kilo and lifting 220 kilos strict above your head, like you have to be 430 pounds.
Yeah.
It's a fact. And that's how it was back then. It was, you had to be that size because the weights were that fucking ridiculous. So it has changed. I mean, look, if I were to walk into World's Strongest Man with a few months training, I would make top 30. I'm fairly sure. To make top 10, I'd probably need a good year. I need a good year to get the tendons back up to shape and ligaments and just build back up. Top 3 would be 2 years away. You know, you've got to be, So that's where I'm at right now. It's, and that's being sincere. It's, I'm still strong. I could still walk in and do fairly decent damage even at this point, even being a fighter.
With, Mitchell Hooper, he was telling us that he went on some sort of bike and he tested on some sort of bike, and him and a few other strongmen just like blew the record out of the water. And then you're telling us about like that punch. And I've heard this a bunch of times with strongman athletes. And I think Brian Shaw, had like his body fat levels tested, and then there was just like the most amount of muscle like anyone's ever seen or something crazy like that. What is it about strongman that like turns you guys into such mutants? Or are the strongman guys mutants first and then they gravitate towards strongman?
I think it's just, lifting heavy weights and eating huge amounts of food for years and years and years, it does these amazing things to the body. And I've done all this testing, what Mitch is doing here. And like the stuff that our bodies are capable of compared to normal people. Like I did, where they put you in a like a leg extension and they measure the horsepower of your legs. I had like 2 horsepower in one leg. It's fucking like the same horsepower, like the same torque as like a 1 liter engine, and did stuff like they tested my heart and they put all these like measuring valves and everything on me. And a normal heart beats 4 to 7 liters of blood per minute. Mine was beating 17 liters of blood per minute.
What the fuck?
Yeah. But my heart, it was like it was a little bit enlarged, but it wasn't like a massively different, it wasn't different from, say, your heart. And this professor was like, I've never seen a heart so efficient. Like, it's the most efficient heart I've ever seen in my like 50 years of, professional career. It was like just obscene. And it's stuff like that. It's like, that transfers over to so many different things like fighting. I'm able to move this huge amount of mass and do 7-minute miles and run a mile and swim a mile in 22 minutes. It's unheard of. But you can train your body to these absolute extremities, and this kind of shit happens. It's unbelievable. Like Mitchell,
it's pretty crazy.
Unless you had it on camera, you're like, fuck off. That's not true.
How long are like most strongman events?
60 seconds. Yeah, so max 75.
So there's got to be some magic in there, because that would be like, the equivalent of running like a 400 meter.
Yeah. No, I'm a big believer in like people say strongmen aren't fit, and I'm like, okay, you come and pull that bus as hard as you can.
How about you just try to bench press for a minute?
60? Yeah. Honestly, like I've had this conversation loads of times. Like, just give maximum effort for 60 seconds. Not a lot of people can. It's fucking hard. Like having that same power output from the first rep to the last rep at 60 seconds is fucking tough, but strongmen manage it.
It's anaerobic,
yes,
to some capacity. And then plus you guys are, I mean, you guys are like also explosive too, which is even crazier. Like to lift, sometimes you guys will lift the stones, and the stones will either go up in weight or down in weight, and then the how high you're putting the stone changes as well.
Yeah, so this is me at like 175 kilo, like 385 pounds here. And we did like a marine fitness test, and I'm sure I ran 1.5 miles in 11.5 minutes.
Nice.
Dude.
That's flying.
And I, like you'll see in a bit, like I literally turned fucking blue. Yeah, but I did it.
But you can do it.
Yeah, but I can do it.
You got a bunch of training in with him too, right? Ross Edgley, right?
Yeah, he's obscene. Ross Edgley's just one of these guys. He's swimming around Iceland at the minute.
Everything he does is nuts. I mean, like parts of his tongue fell off and shit like that.
Yeah.
When he's doing some of these swims, I guess because like the salt water, and you're just like, oh my God. Yeah, Iceland, that's got to be brutal.
100%.
Man, let me ask you this. You have that swimming background, and it's interesting. We had Alan Belcher on the show, and he was talking about the power of swimming for cardiovascular endurance. And then there's another fighter that Alan talked about off air, but he was like, you can't mention this guy because this swimming is his secret weapon for fighting, and he doesn't want anyone to know. So, what do you think that background has been able to give you in terms of capacity? And do you think it's something that people should just learn how to do?
100%. I think swimming is one of the best attributes on planet Earth. I think, being able to swim for the first is just a great skill. But I believe that even club level swimming is so good for almost all aspects of fitness. And it's one of the only sports where it trains the aortic valve in the heart, because you hold your breath whilst you exercise. So it creates this huge amount of stress in the pressure in the heart, the veins, the lungs. So it really conditions the valves in your heart way more than any other sport. So if you swim early on, you are making your heart bulletproof.
When do you hold your breath when you're swimming? Because I thought like you're exhaling in the water and then having an inhale.
So I would breathe every 3 strokes. So it'd be like 1, 2. And then straight away you're sort of breathing out, but
there's a hold somewhere.
There's like, you're talking about 2 second hold, and when you're doing other like breaststroke and you're pushing off the side, you're underwater for 10 seconds. There's a lot of holding your breath.
Sometimes you're finishing the race and stuff too. Yeah. You got to make a decision whether you're going to breathe or not.
That last 20 meters, sometimes you won't even breathe. I used to do 50 meters front crawl, and my best times were the ones where I didn't even breathe. So I'd do like 50 meters, and it would take me like 23 seconds, and I wouldn't breathe once.
It's kind of funny how, I think you mentioned this the other day. Yesterday we had this guy, Irwin LaCour, who comes in, and his thing is he can hold his breath for like almost 8 minutes.
Yeah.
And he was talking about the benefits that can have for your fitness if you're someone who does a sport. But it's like, he just talked about that yesterday. No one has talked about breath holding like that before. And now you're in here talking about like, oh shit, this breath holding stuff.
And then also with the swimming, I think it transfers over to fighting way more than any other sport, because you hold your breath. Yeah. You think about when you're fighting and you're throwing those punches, you are subconsciously, you're holding your breath, and it's the same as swimming. You're taking that breath and you're exhaling on the exercise. And those points where you're in the wrestling, you're getting those headlocks. Sometimes you've got to take a big breath and you've got to fucking worm your way out of situations. So I think swimming has been like one of the most transferable pieces of cardio I've done for fighting. If I want to get fit, I won't run, I won't do ski erg or rower, I'll swim. It gets me fit so fucking fast.
Doesn't mess up your joints either.
And it's so low impact. It's like an active recovery. And how I train for swimming is like, this last fight was 4-minute rounds. I remember didn't get close to 4-minute rounds in the end, but I would train. All I'd do is jump in the pool and I'd do 3 sets of 4 minutes as fast as I could. And the end of that 4 minutes, my heart rate's like 160, 170 beats per minute. You have that minute rest. It's just coming down to the 120s, 110s, and then you set off again. And that, how can you beat that in terms of fighting? And it's exactly the same. You're holding your breath, you're straining. It's almost identical to a fight in terms of cardiovascular.
It's interesting, you know, because you're doing something you're mentioning, you know, in Strongman, the things take about a minute, you know, but it's almost like some of your conditioning for swimming from the time you were young, doing maybe potentially things that might last a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. It probably made some of the events in Strongman feel kind of easy to you.
Yeah. And I say I've done a lot of testing, and I think the lung capacity was a big deal for me. I think, because I remember I did testing when I was 13, and my lung capacity was 9 liters. And I don't know if at the time, like an average for a 13-year-old was like 3 liters, you know? So I had a 9-liter lung capacity. And this professor was like, this is fucking obscene. Like, you know, I see guys in their 30s that don't have the lung capacity of this, that run and whatever else. And again, it's swimming. It's that diving. It's holding your breath. It just stretches everything. Gives you this huge lung capacity, which you never lose. Your lungs never shrink. And I think that carried over into my strongman super well. Like my ability to push longer and harder than anybody else was so evident. Like the Conan's wheel, going for distance, the repetitions. I was always able to get more reps than everybody else. Not solely through strength, but just through being so fit. And then the recovery, you know, you're doing an event, and I'd go have a little walk around, and I'd be sat down ready for the next event, and everyone else would be breathing out their arse, you know, and I'd be ready to go. It's just, I believe swimming, along with the heart strengthening and the lung capacity, gave me such good attributes to go into strongman.
You can also use swimming as a form of recovery too, right? I mean, on days that maybe where you're feeling beat up from MMA and from your camp and from some of your training, you can have a day that's a little bit more low key. Probably still get a great workout in, get your heart rate up a lot, but not have your joints and body take the same beating.
Yeah, no, exactly. You know, there'd be days where, you know, perhaps I'd pull a calf or a bicep or something, and you wouldn't go fight training, you go swimming instead. And it would just help ease it off, and you're still getting your training in, still getting your cardiovascular work in, but as you say, no impact, and your active recovery, shifting that lactic acid out.
Do you think fighters should use some strongman stuff? Do you think it's like advantageous? I mean, I know that you're probably doing something different because you already have that background, that base, but sandbags, and things like that.
I think yes. I think because especially for MMA, I think it's such a mauling sport, that mauling with sandbags and mauling with yokes, I think,
squeezing them and so forth. Yeah,
I think it's such a good attribute. I've never heard a fighter say, "I wish I was weaker for that fight." Have you? Like, nope. Strength is such a good attribute, especially in MMA. The stronger you are, the harder you can grip. The arm bars you can get in, the getting up situations. In general, I've sparred with some black belts in jiu-jitsu. Big guys, like 120, 130 kilo. And in the whole year, I've not been submitted once. I'm not going to say I'm better than them. I'm just saying that my strength, with a little bit of knowledge, I'm able to resist these arm bars, resist these chokes, and just get at things just through being strong. So I think it's got a massive amount of benefit.
Armbarring you would be a nightmare. Like, that's I can understand that.
Yeah.
How is your jiu-jitsu? Is that something you're working on quite a bit?
Yeah. So in this whole year prep, I've done basically 2 days groundwork, so two days jiu-jitsu, and then 2 days combining the two. And the groundwork's been fun, because it's a whole new thing.
Yeah.
Learning it. It's great fun. It keeps you fit. Like, that straining element keeps you super. It's surprising how much cardio you need for wrestling. But yeah, I think I've got myself to a good enough level, probably not anywhere near a brown or black belt, nowhere near, but enough to hang with a brown or black belt because of my strengths.
The cool thing though about you is that people that are pure grapplers, a lot of them kind of stray away from being on the feet because they get too tired being on the feet. So they have better capacity when they're grappling on the ground, right? But you just need to fill that hole of being able to have a capacity on the ground and those movements being kind of instinctual, and then it's going to be kind of complete.
Yes, no, exactly that. It's like a backup. a backup sort of skill. You know, like you say, you get a little bit tired on your feet, you get to the ground, and you can almost, like if I get on top of someone and I just turn into a blanket, like I can maul them to death with so little effort, just from being so big.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's got its perks, that's for sure.
Brian Shaw was training for some MMA, I think, for a while. And then for some reason, I think the fight didn't happen. Unfortunately, it would have been great to see him. Yeah. Looked like he put in a lot of hard work. Have you guys ever rolled together?
No, we haven't. I think we should do. I think.
People would love that.
Yeah, I think.
Even if it was just, I mean, I guess it can't be friendly, right?
It won't be friendly
with you guys. It's just not. It's going to turn into chaos.
I did a sumo training session last year before.
The diaper thing and everything.
Yeah.
That's great.
Diaper.
Yeah, it looks like a diaper.
I love it. I absolutely loved it. And,
Thong, I don't know what you're going.
I went up against the British Open and heavyweight champion. First time I'd ever done it. And I wiped the floor with these guys.
Oh, shit.
And I was like, I fucking loved it. And unfortunately, like, just because everything I'm doing, I couldn't get to but I was pretty much, the coach was like, you need to get to Japan and do the world championships. And I was like, fuck, I'd fucking love to. And it's just never been able to, always like miss the qualifiers and everything. But something I'd love to do. And I think me and Brian would be great at that. Me and Brian just walking into sumo and doing pretty good would be fun.
Strongman, just going into all these other sports, messing everything up for everybody.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think there's a video of Martins. He was doing some judo, and then it was like a Japanese judo, like ultra heavyweight. They did like a round, right? And Martins just picked it up and just fucking threw him onto the ground. It's funny how strongmen can just like, because of those physical traits, there can be a lack of technique, but you can kind of... You can kind of shove that away.
Yeah, that's what I was saying like earlier with like, I might not have the skill of a brown or black belt. Because of my strength, I can hang with them. And Martins is a great example. Yeah. He's definitely not brown or black belt, but because he is, so I mean, he's got a black belt on there. Is he a black belt?
It was a joke. No, he's a white belt.
Yeah. But yeah, because of his strengths, look, I mean, he can hang with a black belt. And,
it's crazy.
And it's nuts, yeah. I mean, that black belt on any other person would absolutely destroy them.
Yeah.
But because Martins has got that core strength, that weight, yeah, it's makes it hard work for him.
Well, you guys don't just lift weights, you're lifting like objects. And I think there's a big difference. The guy that was in yesterday again was talking about how, in our environment, everything's like straight, everything's like square, but not in nature.
Yes.
You don't really, you basically, it's super rare to run into that. You're not going to run into like a rock that's like a complete square,
Yeah.
And something like picking up a stone or even like a sandbag, which can kind of slide and move around on you a little bit. And it's not only like just picking it up. Some people think they're going to like kind of pick it up with like their biceps and you have to like squeeze it. And then it requires like a certain amount of mobility to get some guys are able to put their forearms kind of near the ground to get their arms underneath the stone and so forth. And it's like you're wrestling with this object, which is and by the time you get done with it, if you have a heavy enough stone or sandbag, you're exhausted.
Yeah.
Even just from, tussling with the thing for 20 seconds.
Yeah. No, you're completely right. And if you did that with a 50-kilo dumbbell, you wouldn't get much from it. But you turn that into a 50-kilo sandbag, you're getting so much more exerted. Yeah, it's using all those core muscles. You're completely right. Strongman in itself is so much more transferable to real life situations like fighting and wrestling. For that, yeah, 100%, I agree with that.
Power Project family, how's it going? Now, over the years, I've learned a lot from guests that have come onto this podcast, and I've taken the time to learn many different movement practices. So, for example, if you wanted to learn rope flow, which is a practice I think is just beneficial for everyone, I have a free rope flow foundations course at school.com/thestrongerhuman. Now, the Stronger Human community actually has over 11,000 members, so it's a great community there, but you'll also be able to learn rope flow for free, along with many other things I teach in there, like kettlebell flow, kettlebell juggling, all that good stuff. So head over there. Along with that, if you're looking for where to get your equipment as far as ropes, maces and clubs, sandbags, all that good stuff, you can head over to thestrongerhuman.store. And on that site is where I have all of the different functional fitness equipment that I use to become a stronger human. So check those out, and let's get back to the episode.
What happened recently when you were chasing some people down the street in your neighborhood?
Jeez. So, look, it's in the UK. Anywhere I go in the world, but in the UK, it's like fame has become a bit of a hunting problem for me. It's like I can't go out in public. I can't go to the supermarket. I can't take my kids to the theme park. I can't go out for meals. It's just constant, you know, it's nonstop. And the problem with me is, you know, I'm not as famous as say like David Beckham or other, you know, celebrities, but they can hide away. They can put a cap on, put glasses on, put a jacket on, and they can blend in. I fucking can't. I'm gigantic. So like the second I walk into the room, it's like everyone just, you know, you're so obvious.
Right.
So it's like, it's kind of so fucking bad. And shit like this, like people, and this is a regular occurrence, by the way. Like people.
It's a pretty good sprint, by the way, especially in some slides.
I was proud. I was proud of that. So this is like a regular occurrence of people like turning up to the house where my kids live.
It's not good.
And just like watching outside, looking in the gates, like taking pictures, honking the horns, ringing the gate. Is Eddie in? Can we have a picture? It's a regular thing. It's not like, this isn't like a one-off. And these guys were here for, I mean, now I've gone through all the CCTV. They were there for nearly 20 minutes, honking their horns, calling my dog, trying to get my dog to come down to them. My Alex there went down to them 3 times, asking them to leave. They're very rude to her. And then the 3rd time, we're just like, no, we're staying. And that was like after like 15 minutes of being there. So I was in the garden with my son, just having a bonfire and a cigar, just proper chill. I had no idea this was going on. I heard the honking, but it's such a regular thing. I thought nothing of it. So she came up and told me, and I looked on the CCTV quickly, so see how long they were there. And I was just like, fuck this. They were like the 3rd people that day to come and knock on my house. And I was just like, fuck this. I need to put a fucking stance on this, you know. I need to let people know that it's not okay to come to this house and disturb Alex was putting my kids to bed, and then the horns are fucking going, and they're coming to the window like, who's that, mummy? You know, getting fucking scared and shit. And it's like, you little fuckers, disturbing my inner peace,
right.
You know, and that you disturb my inner peace, you're going to get the worst side of me. So I just went down a side gate, and I just had enough. I was just like, I don't want to fucking talk to these guys. I don't want to reason with them. Just fuck off. Just get the fuck away from me. Get the fuck away from my house. Just fucking go. I don't fucking care what you've got to say. And the first 2 sort of like just got it and were like, oh, sorry, or whatever. But the 3rd guy just like stood his ground and was like, what, we just want a picture. Like, my kids want a picture. Like, what about my kids? And I'm like, what about my fucking kids? Right. Like, you sat here beeping your fucking horn for 20 minutes. What about my fucking kids? Just fuck off. And he looked me dead in the eyes. As he was just put his car into gear and was just driving off, he looked me dead in the eyes. He's like, I'll fucking knock you out. And I just saw red. I was like, fuck this. Like, you've fucking like pissed me off for 20 minutes. And now you're going to say you're going to knock me out. So I just saw red. And that's the interaction you saw there of me just losing my shit. Like, it's a good job they fucking drove off. I swear to God, if I'd have got hold of those fuckers, I'd probably be in prison right now.
And just flip their car right over.
But this is the thing, man. It's like, I couldn't put a fucking step wrong without some fucking twat filming it, you know? And that's the kind of shit. If that was Joe Bloggs, nothing had happened. You know, it'd be like, oh, a guy chased a guy down the street because he's beeping the horn. But because it's Eddie Hall, like,
right.
And you got to think that went viral. That clip went viral instantly. Like 10 o'clock that night, The Sun, like our national scumbag paper, posted it on their Facebook and whatever and Instagram. And I was getting like 5,000 comments instantly, like 5 million views, 5,000 comments, like, Eddie Hall's a fucking twat, scumbag, cancel him, let's go up and do him, let's go up and smash his house up. And I'm like, Jesus. What the I didn't sleep at all that night. I was just like, what the fuck? What do I do? And then my brother rung me in the morning. He's like, Ed, you are literally getting cancelled. Like, you are... Like, the businesses are going to fold. Like, you are going to get fucking cancelled, mate. It's like the sales have already dipped this morning. Like, you're going to get fucking cancelled. So I had to like muster up this response and put it out as quick as I could. Got it out that night and just luckily I had the CCTV just to prove what fucking pests these guys were. And it's actually come out, not my words, that one of these guys is being investigated for child molestation. So I have within every fucking right to to act the way I did, even more so now.
Right.
You got those dirty bastards hanging around my fucking house. So,
That's some scary shit. Have you thought about like security or something? Or?
I mean, my security is top notch. You know, I've got 24/7 CCTV. You know, someone's sat there on the cameras, actively looking at what's going on around my property, and that's probably the most I'm willing to do. You know, because I've got big high fences. It's quite secure, good alarm systems, bulletproof glass, attack dogs. I've got the lot. Like it's a fucking fortress. But shit like that. I mean, in hindsight, should I have just phoned the police? But would they have come within an hour, 2 hours? Would they? Fuck, you know. So yeah, it's come across my mind. Maybe I get some kind of like water cannons set up outside the gate or something. But I have had live-in security in the guest house before because it has got that bad in the past. But then I've upped all my security. There's like no need for them. But yeah, I think there's like patrol cars now going around my house every hour at night. So that you know, and I've had to pay for that, but it keeps me peace of mind and keeps the kids safe and everything. So, but it's a cost I shouldn't have to fucking pay, you know?
Right. Yeah, just I saw, you know, when I saw that, I was like, what the hell's going on? And I saw your video like immediately afterwards, which I think was great because then there's some sort of context to it.
Yes.
You know, that way people don't think you're just a madman chasing people down the street.
That was the consensus of that video. Yeah, Eddie Hall's a fucking nutcase. Didn't do me any favors.
With your conditioning being the way that it is, just for the fuck of it, or maybe even just a YouTube video, would you consider doing like a High Rocks type thing?
Fuck no. Fucking Jesus. I mean, what's High Rocks? Eight 1K runs? And
I think so.
yeah, fuck that.
Too much.
Yeah, that's hip destroying.
It's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot of running.
That's fucking hip destroying.
Maybe if it was swimming, you would think.
With swimming, yeah, I'd smash it. If it was 8 1K swims, that'd be easy. But runs, no. That's like I wouldn't be able to walk for like 2 weeks. That'd fuck me up.
Not worth it.
No.
What's it like now that, you know, where you get, you know, you used to have to like, you know, fight to make a name for yourself. And now your name is providing a lot of great opportunities. Like you're on tour, you're here with the world's strongest man, and you really just, at least from where I sit, you just show up, maybe do some commentating.
Yeah, pretty much.
Take some pictures with some people and stuff like that. I mean, that must feel pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, look, life's good. You know, I'm very lucky, very blessed to live the life I do. It's amazing, you know, and the opportunities that have come knocking my way, such as the fighting, you know, the presenting World's Strongest Man. I've done TV shows with the guys in America, the strongest man in history. I've had my own TV show in the UK. It's been a whirlwind, you know, and it still is. Like the opportunities I get almost on a daily basis, it's like, fucking hell, like it just never stops. It's pretty insane.
How do you know, when to say no to certain things?
It's all about the premiums. You know, I've set a premium, like what my day rate is. It's quite high, but it's like the people that turn me, like say nine people turn me down and that 10th person says yes, like that 10th person pays for the 9 no's. So that's how I work it. I put my premiums quite high. I value my time quite high because I'm literally busy every day. What
about something like acting? Is that something you've tried to pursue at all, or?
Yeah, so I did a little part in Expendables 4, just a little bar scene fight, and on the back of that, I did a film called The Awakening that's out this year. Again, just like a slightly bigger role. And there's a film coming up soon called The Lost Book of Creation with Russell Crowe and Mel Gibson, and I'm on screen with potentially Russell Crowe for the entire film. So it's something something I'm quite passionate about and something that I enjoy, like being on set and having that crack and filming and eating and training around everything. It's quite fun. I enjoy it. So it's something I'm desperate to get into, actually. It's something like a passion of mine. So I'm actively working quite hard to do more of that.
And is there, will you maybe take some classes or try to, figure out how to, perfect some acting? Because it's, it comes pretty natural to some people, but it can be really difficult as well.
Yeah. And I mean, I had to get over some big stepping stones. There was some speech therapy I had to get over. I had real trouble saying 3 And, the TH, I couldn't say it. It was like free. Like I used to say 3 is free, and I could not say it. So I had to get some speech therapy for stuff like that. And then straight after I won World's Strongest Man, I pretty much jumped into acting lessons, and I did an hour a week for about 3 years with a really high level acting coach. And when a rule comes around, I'll jump back to that acting coach, and we'll sort of touch up on things, and then make sure I'm sort of prepped and everything going into this role. It's like anything, like with the strongman, with the swimming, with the fighting. You've got to work fucking hard. Like you've got to really put some effort in and learn your lines and get the speech therapy and go back and forth with someone, just rehearsing those lines over and over and over again and just memorizing them. It's really tough. You got to give it 100% like you do anything.
Thank you so much. When is your fight, and who are you fighting? Do you know?
Well, I'm talking with matchmakers at the minute, and the number one name that keeps coming up at the minute is Francis Ngannou, which again is fucking insane. But there's a lot of talk. There's talk of me and Marius teaming up, the guy I just beat, and doing a 2v4 in Poland.
Poland, what's with the Polish?
them Eastern Europeans, man, they're all fucking nuts. They just love it. That's where the power slap was invented. They're just fucking crazy. There's like the 3v1 scenarios. There's talk of me fighting Dylan Danis. There's loads of crazy stuff, but it's like with anything. If the price is right, I'll take it. If the price is shit, I'm not fucking interested. It's got to be worth my while.
Thank you so much for your time today. Appreciate it.
Thank you, man. It's nice to see you both as well.
Strength is never weakness. Weakness never strength. Catch you guys later. Bye.